this meeting of the Macon County Board of Commissioners to order. I'd like to welcome everybody. Glad you're here. We had a hot summer day, and glad to be somewhere cool, aren't you? So welcome. Glad you're here. Hey. Announcements. Do we have anybody that has anything you need to share as far as announcements? Mike, do you have anything? Mr. County Manager, Commissioner Haven.
They will be on Flag Day. Folks, everybody's invited to the Junaluska Masonic Lodge. They'll be celebrating Flag Day with a wonderful speaker. And so everybody's invited that at 12 o'clock.
Who's speaking to me?
We wait.
That's a sin of omission. You let the CD come. Yeah.
What time's that?
12 o'clock. It's going to start at 11:30, but they should be a good attendance. So everybody's invited.
Commissioner Cooper, do you have anything?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if you could just for a second, and this is kind of on a personal note, there may be some people that know this individual, that if you've been around the schools at all, but I was called by Coach Goldsmith this morning, Fred Goldsmith, telling us that Dale Huff had asked if anybody knows anything about Franklin football or Franklin athletics. Dale was huge here for a long, long time, and he passed on, so I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the contributions that he made to this community, probably as much as any of us have made if you look at the number of students that have passed his way. So I just wanted to bring his name.
And just on a personal note too, Mr. Huff was, I guess, equipment manager, did about everything around the high school, a lot of volunteer, and just a great guy. He was diagnosed with
Alzheimer's about 6
or 8 years ago, and moved, I believe, to East Tennessee.
To Knoxville.
So he will be missed.
Well, it takes a lot for a bunch of coaches to call you coach when you're not one, but he was always known as Coach Huff, and always will be. Thank you.
Commissioner Tate. Ms. Hall, do you have anything?
Under the consent agenda, B, the budget amendments,
yes.
I have handed out numbers 204, 205, 206.
Okay.
And we'll get to that. I'll explain them then, or I'll explain them now.
No, that's okay.
And then also, if you could add under consent agenda E, the actual ordinance amending our 11-12 budget, which I've also handed out to you. I've also handed out 9A, your actual budget ordinance. And when we get to that point, I'll make sure that we have the right document. So again, add an E to 11 ordinance amending the 11-12 budget.
Attorney Jones, do you have anything to add? No. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to rise. We're going to celebrate a moment of silence in memory of Mr. Coach Huff. And those of you that do him, I ask you to give thanks for his.
Just before you do that, we also had a long-time employee's mother pass away, Miss Betty Long. So remember that family and their prayers also.
Thank you. Vice Commissioner Tate, if you would lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. At this point in our agenda, we usually recognize we have a public hearing. We have none tonight. Our agenda is fairly short tonight. We've met every week for, I think, the last 6 weeks or so, Jack, so we've taken care of most of the business. But we have no public hearing. We do have public comment. Ms. Robb? I recognize her.
Oh, I'm so surprised.
She didn't want to speak first, but she's the only one that signed up.
The first and only, huh? I'm going to say I'm nervous.
Okay,
But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I sit in this room many, many times and never say a word. But tonight I do have something to say, and I don't know whether it's late or not, bringing up something I read in the newspaper. My inquiry is the notice that I read in the Franklin Press regarding the fire station on Eastern Branch Road that they were anticipating or wanting. I feel that in these hard times, it's much of a burden to our community to have another station for one thing. Other than that, with the recent accident at the airport, would it not be better to have a station in that area which would handle both the school and the airport? That's all I have to say. It's just a thought, something that I thought about.
So you very good. You're opposed to tax increase for the county fire district.
Sort of.
Sort of.
I'm not going to give you a yes or no on that.
That's fine.
This
You don't
all
have to.
I wanted to say.
You don't have to. That's
What
fine.
was this? That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Robbins, very much. We've got, this is not really a public comment, no, I guess it would be. David Nicholson is with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And we've known David through associational meetings, through gatherings. Last time we saw him, I guess, was in Raleigh a couple of weeks ago at the legislative conference. And he does a lot of work for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And David, we're glad you're here. I think this is at least first time in my tenure that you've
I've been to a couple of, it's been a while.
Yeah. So we're glad you're here. We recognize you. If you have anything to say to the group, we'd
We'll get here before Jack starts talking about me. Again, I'm David Nicholson. I'm an outreach associate with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, your association. But as you all know, someone said that I was from Raleigh. That's not quite true. I live in Henderson County, where I served for 30 years in Henderson County. But I served the western 49 counties and come around, visit county managers, attend meetings out here, and get by a county commissioners meeting as much as I can. So it's good to be here tonight. I want to thank you all because of any of the counties, you are as much support of the association, and that means you're supporting what your citizens as well as the entire citizens across the state of North Carolina. You have been very active in the association in all levels. You are kind enough to lend us Ronnie Beal as our second vice president, and we always look forward to being around Ronnie. Of course, just to let you know, things are hopping in Raleigh right now. You're probably getting a lot of emails from the association staff, and a couple of things where the Senate handed out its budget this week. And there's some slight differences between the Senate and the House budget. But I'll talk to Commissioner Chuckers on a later point about some of those discussions. But one of the interesting things, of course, is the lottery funds. We had hoped to, first of all, protect what we were getting, which was less than we've gotten last year, but at least there have been no cuts in those funds, even though we'd hoped with the large lottery payouts over the last couple of months, we might be able to kick up a little bit, but it looks like at this point in time we're going to protect what we have. And sometimes, as you all know, in the budget process, that's good to protect what you have. I think we're really excited that the human resources administrative issue is moving along, commonly known as Senate Bill 433. It passed the House committee today with great support, and we're really pleased about that. And we're looking forward to the next couple of days to get it calendared and put it on the House agenda. Hopefully get it
That's the original 433.
That's the original 433.
By itself.
By itself.
which is what we asked for.
What we asked for. There was a substitute bill that came out that was being looked at.
We had a meeting with the Speaker of the House and asked him that first.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
told you, you
like
get busted out of that other bill.
Yeah, sure. It's not unusual that all of a sudden you get competing legislation, but this is one that was passed by the Senate last year and went to the House, and we finally were able to get it voted on at the committee level.
So it's
we're
out
pleased
there.
about that. And there's a lot of things going along, and we appreciate your support and PPD members of the General Assembly. So it's good to be with you tonight, and I'm going to sit here and listen and enjoy sitting on this side of the table after 30 years of sitting on that side of the table.
Just to let everybody know, we all sort of know what the association is, but for those of you who may not, there's 100 counties in North Carolina, as you know, and there's county commissioners in each county. So this is a group that meets that whole collection of county commissioners, which I would guess there's probably close to 500 of us.
About 572 or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So every county in North Carolina is a member. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
So all counties participated. He mentioned Ronnie Beal, us loaning him to you. We'll give him to you if you'd like to take him, but Ronnie's the second vice president for
Rookie, that's awful rookie.
Somebody get on that thermostat.
He's
It's cold in here.
he's the second vice president for the North Carolina Association. Those of you who know how that kind of thing works, Ronnie was elected this year. We all worked and helped him do that. He was elected second vice president. He'll be first vice president, and then president-elect, and then he'll be president of the association, which is a very prestigious position. So it gives us a big voice. And our county is very active in that, and I'm very happy with that. We participated in legislative day and really all the other things that you do. We're usually there. So.
We look forward to, I'll see you before then, look forward to seeing you at the annual conference in Wake County in August. Okay. Thank y'all for letting me be here.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody have anything to add or questions of David or anything while he's here? If not, the next.
Jack, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah. No, he wanted to say something.
David's a great guy. I've known him since he was before he was a county manager or an assistant county manager. When I went to work in Swain County back in 1976, David was working for Henderson County as finance director. And so we go back about over 3 decades. So and he's got the best job he ever had in his life now working for the County Commissioners Association. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You still live in Henderson?
Still live, yeah. I actually live in Etowah, between Hendersonville and Lamar.
It's a great
Still
resource.
Henderson County.
David's a great resource, and he doesn't just come around to visit county commissioners at county commissioner meetings and so forth, but he's also got a really strong financial background, worked with a lot of issues, and he's on loan from time to time with any county in his district or his region that needs him. He's willing to go in and help them with any financial issues that they're having, and he's done that over the past several years since he's been with the association, and does a great job, so we appreciate it. We have David covers the western half, and my other intern that I had before covers the eastern half, and so between those two, they cover the whole state. We got some good folks working for us out there. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. The next item is adjustments and approval of the agenda. And all of you see the agenda as we have it before us. Is there anything to add that you would like to add to the agenda? Mr. Hayden? Mr. David? I have one. Jack, this came to me. I mentioned this to you this afternoon. There's a child fatality prevention team in the county. They're required by state statute for a parent of a child who died before the 18th birthday to be on this child fatality prevention team. And I have a name here that was recommended by that group, and I'll pass this out to you. Let's add that. I guess Jack, that would be under appointments.
It would be.
So we'll add that as 12E. That's a child fatality prevention team.
You got a copy from?
Yes, I do. So we'll add that, and that's all I had. Commissioner Peppers, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Taylor. Reports and presentations.
Motion
To approve, yes, we do. Thank you.
Second.
We have motion second to approve the agenda as presented with the change. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. And under reports and presentations, Jack, do you have anything?
No, I don't really have anything except when we get down to old business. But I would mention one thing to be thinking about, and I'll forward you a copy of it. I had a phone message from Kevin King, who's the manager over in Swain County earlier today, and evidently I haven't been following that close, but there's a settlement from TVA for the air pollution they've been causing with the coal-fired generating plants over the years, and that money's been sent to North Carolina to be used. And Mr. King's concern is that it's going to be turned over to the state committee, and they're going to decide where to spend the money. And there's a good chance David may end up going down east instead of here in the western part of the state where it needs to be spent.
Where it should be.
And so
Well, the reason, that we're the one who's been actual pollution
exactly
that's the reason for the settlement.
exactly. But you know, when money ends up in Raleigh, it could end up anywhere else in the state besides where we would like for it to go. So Mr. King is concerned about that along with his county commissioners, and I'm sure all the other western counties are also.
concerned about that, and so they would like some input from the counties to direct the powers to be in Raleigh to make sure that money is spent in western North Carolina, the area that's been impacted by the air pollution from the TVA.
It's 5 counties, right?
Well, no, it's more than 5 counties.
It's a mountain, primary is mountain county.
It's all the way up, but Cherokee, Clay, all 7 counties in our area, plus Buncombe, Madison.
Well, maybe he
Avery,
said it was,
Bishop.
that they've divided it for the mountain money, that there's gonna be
It might be, but all the western counties that border Tennessee have been affected by the air pollution, so that's where, and some of them have been affected more than others. I think probably in the central part, Asheville, south, probably been affected. We have been more than most other parts of the western side, but so they'd like to, have the county commissioners and not just Macon, but other counties support efforts to try to make sure that money's spent where it needs to be spent.
But we talked about a resolution.
I got a copy of the resolution that they're passing over in Swain County. I haven't got one tailored to Macon County, but I can read that resolution if you like to do something like that.
Well, I think you can't be there too soon.
No, that's right.
When it,
Rose funny looking legs when it gets down there too.
So Jack, you got a copy of the resolution?
I believe I do, let me see. Just stuck with one of my other things here.
So we move on to the next item, but that's yours, budget.
come back.
I believe it, I have it right here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
It's a resolution requesting General Assembly to allocate funds received from Tennessee Valley Authority settlement to be distributed on the settlement agreement. Like me, I read it.
How long do you want to make everybody a copy?
It's just short.
Okay, go ahead.
Swain County Board of Commissioners hereby resolve the following at a regular scheduled assembly, whereas TVA is the second largest federal landowner in Swain County, whereas Swain County is more rich Smoky Mountains National Park property than any other county in North Carolina, and whereas the Attorney General of North Carolina has settled a lawsuit with TVA in regards to pollution and emissions in the Great Smoky Mountains and other mountainous areas of western North Carolina, whereas the General Assembly shall budget the funds from this lawsuit as prescribed by the law, whereas the settlement agreement reached by the Attorney General and TVA specifically states, quote, the state shall use their best efforts to identify projects that are located in TVA's power service area or the TVA River watershed and give preference to such projects over projects outside these areas. And whereas Swain County lands are part of the Tennessee Valley River watershed and TVA power service area, whereas the settlement agreement also specifies categories of projects that are allowable for funding through the TVA funds, whereas Swain County Commissioners have 5 different projects that meet the criteria set forth in the settlement agreement, and whereas Swain County has been told by state personnel that there are no projects that will qualify for funding in western North Carolina. Therefore be resolved, the Swain County Board of Commissioners requests the General Assembly of North Carolina adopt specific guidelines for the grant process and settlement funds to specifically address the needs of the area affected by the pollution generated by TVA and give priority to those projects and proposals being submitted from the TVA region identified by the North Carolina Energy Division in the public hearing handouts, the Tennessee River watershed, the TVA power service area, or to those North Carolina counties included in the Appalachian Regional Commission. The board also requests the General Assembly adopt guidelines and give priority to categories of projects specified in the consent decree to assign responsibility for the administration of the TVA settlement funds to the North Carolina Energy Division. That's the resolution that they are planning on passing at their meeting, which will be the 26th of this month. And they're asking for support. And we do in Macon County supply water that goes into the watershed to help generate electricity to serve the TVA area.
And what they're looking for is shovel ready green project. Am I right, Mr. Manager?
I think so, yes.
And so Swain County had submitted 5 requests for different things, and thought that each one of them, by the original guidelines that came out, thought that they would qualify, and none of them did. So that's what, I think the only thing left out of the resolution that I would encourage Swain County to put out, that may be placed in the escrow account until such projects are deemed to meet the criteria.
I think that's an excellent point, otherwise it may be spent on.
It'll be gone.
I have no problem with that resolution. We'd have to, I think, to vote on it, we'd have to sort of rewrite it to see what we want to do, but just do that.
You'd have to make it count.
If you pass a resolution or if the board would authorize a letter, I think the letter would make the same points in the letter to the state delegation.
To make those points.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we authorize the county manager along with the county attorney and yourself to put a letter to that, basically stating what's in the resolution, stating Macon County's concerns about the settlement and the settlement.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Chester, you and Jack and I'll get together, finalize wording on that, and we'll forward a copy to the media and the rest of you. Jack, anything else?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
That's all I had under reports and presentations. Anybody have anything else? Under old business, we've been working for about, I guess, close to 6 months, 5 months anyway, on the budget for year 2012, 2013. And we've had a number of budget workshops, gone through every item, line item by line item. I think we've had all those questions answered. We did ask, I think we, by consensus, asked Jack to make a few small changes to it, which I think he's prepared to present to us tonight. And so, Mr. Manager, we'll turn it over to you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board did have some rather long budget deliberations and discussions and review of requests and recommendations. It did make some minor adjustments to the proposed budget. One of the ones that was discussed and given conditional approval, as well as most of these were, if not all of them, was a need for additional marketing in our economic development program. So we've actually added $3,500 more in the economic development program to cover the marketing for the coming year. Another issue we had was in soil conservation service. We had a secretary for a long time handle all the clerical support for our soil conservation service. When the recession hit in 2008, that secretary retired. We didn't fill that position, and so they've been trying to get by with whoever they could get to cover the area for a long time. And so they're asking, and I think board by consensus wanted to see if we could fill in with a part-time secretary, which costs about $8,600 a year. That's no benefits, just about 19 hours a week, plus Social Security, and so that's included as far as an adjustment to the proposed budget. The other item was in the sheriff's office. The board by consensus agreed that there was a need for more in-car cameras for the sheriff's vehicles, and so to provide for 6 new in-car cameras, that included an additional adjustment in budget of $24,500, and so that's in there. We had a couple of changes in the criminal justice, juvenile justice crime prevention program. One of our programs called Barium Springs actually got additional funds this year, and we weren't sure that those were going to be in the budget for next year, but they are. And so we have a line item in the budget that has an additional $1,640 in matching funds because the program went from $5,466 to $7,106. So there's a small adjustment there. The county required to put in a match for those grant funds. The other one, as we talked about, was the need to bring our emergency response team from a 5.5-day EMS response to a 7-day response. And Mr. Tate's aware of this, and in order to fund that one full-time position to get that service available in that particular area of EMS, we take one full-time paramedic plus benefits, and that'll be a total cost on a yearly basis of $42,561. So we've included that in here. We just found out recently, within the last the last few days that our transit department had additional grant money that we weren't sure of. It did come through. That requires a 15% local match, and so we have to show the full expense of that, which is $28,340 in the budget. 85% of that's going to be paid by the state, 15% is going to be paid by the county, and so that's included in there. There was several discussions and review of fire and district taxes. We had a fire departments that had requested consideration for tax increases this year. The board looked at those thoroughly and was looking at whether those could be justified as a needed for a continuing source. And Commissioner Tate was aware of that and working with our emergency services as well as emergency services director and a fire marshal. And we do have one change in here, and you can speak to that, Mr. Tate, if you'd like to, that it was one of the fire department that we agreed that they probably had to have the extra $1,500, which is all it is 1/10 of 1% increase, 1/10 of 1 cent increase in their budget. That was Mountain Valley, and that would actually only increase them $1,500 to $6, and they need to replace a 1971 truck. And so they're using money in their existing budget, and all they really asked for was the amount they were short in their budget, making their debt service payment, which was $1,500 to $6. That's why they came up with 1/10 of 1 cent in order to meet their need. They actually only asked for what they absolutely had to have, and so we felt like that's a justifiable request. And Mr. Tate may have more comments on that, but
Mr. Tate?
Yeah, so in my opinion, they were the only department that showed a need for recurring revenue versus one-time need for capital expenditure. In my mind, that deserves an increase in tax revenue. They pay bills and they must carry out. That is what I said. In my opinion, how they filed departments that requested, that was the only one that proved it.
just to also reiterate the budget, we didn't talk about or mention it, but last year the board authorized us to go ahead and proceed with the classification pay plan study, which we've been underway for at least the last 6 months anyway, or maybe a little bit longer. We don't have that plan completed yet. We've got some preliminary indications on what that plan is going to involve. There's going to be a full presentation on the finished classification and pay plan to the Board of County Commissioners at your July 10th meeting. At that time, the representative from Springstead will give you all the details about how far out of line we are, which you all figured we're probably out of line in a lot of areas. We'll find that we have quite a few employees who are probably below the minimum salary for the job that they do compared to comparable counties and jurisdictions similar to us. There are a lot of people in jobs now that are probably underpaid for the position they're in compared to the average. And that I'm not going to give you an amount of money on that because we're still working through that, but it's a lot more money that it's not included in this budget here. So we know that our employees have done a great job, and sometimes we get all the credit for putting together budgets and balancing budgets and keeping tax rates low and so forth. We couldn't do it without the help of our departments and department heads, some people who actually get out there every day and do the work, and we appreciate them doing that. And so we're looking at some way to maybe show some appreciation for them. And so I've had some discussions with the chair and vice chair, and sent you all an email out asking for consideration for a one-time, one-year benefit. This is not actually a pay increase, but since we don't have the comprehensive employee compensation and classification plan in place now, and it won't be presented until July, and after it's presented, I'm sure the board will want to take a look at it, evaluate it, consider how much you want to do of it, how much you can do of it, when you want to put it into place, and so forth. So likely it's not. It won't even begin to be put in place until probably January 1st, 2013. The cost of that, which will be determined, we'll find that out and have that for you on the 10th. But what we're trying to do is actually do a compensation and classification study for the county to bring our employees' salaries up to reasonable and comparable salaries in our region, in our district. And that's going to cost some money. We don't want to ask you to do that with a tax increase. We're trying to find revenue in the existing budget to make that happen. And so it's gonna take us a little time to come up with some ways to do that, but we're working on that as we speak. Given the phase in of that project, we're realistically, I think, thinking that it might take 18 to 24 months to get that project in place. And if you start in January 2013, it might be January 2015 before it's fully implemented. I hope not, but that's a distinct possibility. So I looked at ways that the county can show some appreciation and support for our dedicated employees who, during this recession that seems to go on and on and on, have continued to provide excellent service, I think, to our citizens and our visitors here. But the state's wrestling with the same problem of what to do with compensation for public employees, and that's been in the news a lot. One version of the budget passed by the House General Assembly recommended a $250 flat payment for state employees and teachers and an additional 5 days of annual leave. That's not been concurred with by the Senate at this time. They're looking for a percentage of a salary increase across the board of about 1.2%, and so they haven't come to an agreement on that one. But looking at it here, we think that our employees continue to do a great job, and they've actually had to assume, I think, some additional duties over the past 3 or 4 years because we've actually reduced the number of county employees that we have. In 2008, we had 392 full-time county employees. This year, we have 355, and so we've actually reduced the number of full-time county employees by 37 over the past 4 years. And so what that means is we're not eliminating services, it's just more employees are picking up extra workload to cover for those that we don't have in a lot of cases, not every case, but a lot of cases. So they're doing a good job on that. And so we would like to, or I would like to request on behalf of employees that the county commissioners allow us to do something for the employees here, which is not a salary increase, but give them something that to show our appreciation. And that would be to allow us to give the current full-time county employees an additional 24 hours of annual leave for this fiscal year only. They can use it, so they can hold on to it and use it next year or whatever. But it's a small token of appreciation, which would just be in the upcoming year. I think it would be a big morale booster, not as big as the big raise would be, but I think it would be somewhat of a morale booster for all of our employees. And it would sort of show a strong feeling of support that I know that this board has for all of our county employees who appreciate the job that they do. And I've heard it from every one of the members of our board. The other thing I think this would do, which was a concern, if we do that, is that going to add an extra burden on the budget that we can't afford to do right now. And we've looked at it, Ms. Hall and myself, and with the money that we have in the current budget, we would not be asking for any additional appropriation to the county in order to be able to do this for the employees for this year. So it would be a zero increase over what's in the proposed budget right now, but it would give them some additional hours of annual leave would have allowed us to do that. In order to do that, I can't just do it arbitrarily without approval from Board of Commissioners. So along with the budget ordinance, we're also asking for your consideration of that provision to show appreciation for our county employees.
Mr. Manager or Chester, I guess I've got a question for you for a procedure. Your budget message didn't include those, I believe it's 5 or 6 items that I've got.
They didn't, but they're included in the revised.
So they're in it now. So if we vote on the budget, that
They're in the
includes
budget
that.
ordinance.
Okay, so we don't have to vote on that. The fire tax,
It's in the budget ordinance.
in the budget ordinance, you put, which one did you put? The requested or the one that Jack mentioned tonight?
They're in there as current, with the exception of Mountain Valley, which is
Mountain
one county.
Valley.
Okay.
Of the
So you did,
center.
okay.
0.07, 0.06.
Right. So Mountain Valley's the only one that's been changed.
And the current county tax rate in the budget ordinance is the same at 27.9 cents per hundred.
So it's the same tax rate?
Yes.
Okay. So that, just to reiterate, that does include the extra items, including the cameras, patrol cars, et cetera. It includes the fire tax, the addition of 1 cent for Mountain Valley.
It does.
That's all in there, so we wouldn't have to add
Yes.
that.
That's all there.
The the 3 days off, or the 24 hours, additional leave time is not in there. Is that correct, or it is?
It's not in there because we're not asking for any additional appropriation or any additional funds. We have some line items in the budget. We already have some overtime and some part-time.
So when we vote
salaries in there,
approval for
so-
that separate.
But I can't authorize additional leave unless the board concurs with it.
So that would be
Set in our
That's a separate
personnel
item from the
policy.
budget.
Yeah, we'll set this in our personnel policy, and any changes to that have to be for the concurrence of the board.
Okay.
What was the matching grant for the transit pool?
It was for one full-time person, about $28,000.
I met with Kim about that. That was sort of late coming, and she didn't get any time for us to talk about it before, but she did.
Yeah.
It's just as a new person, not an existing.
Yeah, this is an additional person to work in the administrative office of transit, and it's 85% of being paid by state funds.
Okay. And that, of course, that 85% is then showing on the revenue side as well, so it's only showing the net, only costs us $50 million. Any questions or clarifications about the budget? Gentlemen,
Mr. Chairman, I just think it needs to be said as we discussed, we've got to go on this budget, that just speaking for myself, and I believe for most people on this board, that just because we didn't give these fire departments what they asked for, in no way does that mean we don't support them 100%. And if during the year, if they should run up something that's really needed, and it's for the citizens' safety of Macon County, I think that I do is come to this board. I think this does show, and I think Mr. Tate can speak to this, that going forward, that it shows we probably need a little bit better system, because they are contracted from this board. The Concord, right?
Yeah, there's a contract between the county and the fire.
So I think that there's some controls that we can better place to make it easy on everybody as we move forward. And like Ms. Rob said, I think that's I've never heard that idea, but I think it's a great idea. That needs to be looked into. So, I mean, that's what we need is input. And Mr. Tate, I'd like for you to speak. I know that's something that's special to you personally, but I just want to put my thoughts to that.
Sure, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think during times of economic hardships, this is hard for us. We need to be prudent as commissioner with the taxpayer funds. And when you're looking at some significant capital expenditures with some of these departments requesting additional funds, I think we need to look out for the best interest of the taxpayer, where the dollars are going versus necessarily our departments are going. And there's a balance there between wants and needs. And in my opinion, only one of the departments proved that they actually had a need versus wants. I think that's why I'm recommending that balance only as the increase. Again, I really like your thoughts though on for us as a county to be prepared to offer financial assistance if there is a crisis for one of these departments in case they have some needs or some state rate required equipment, etc. Again, I like your thoughts.
and Commissioner Tate, we did, Vice Chairman Peppers and myself had a chance to meet with the county manager about a few issues relative to the budget, and I think we agree that these fire departments need something mid-year that we're here for them to come back to. This is not a no to everything they need. I think it's in response to a flat budget year. That's correct.
And not to be repetitive, but I think they need to hear it from everybody that is the case, and I know it is. This is certainly a difficult thing, it always is. We recognize what a service that they provide, we recognize how hard they work, we recognize how difficult it is. We also recognize that it's been hard on the people that pay the bills. And what moved me in one direction or the other was the establishment of a need that requires recurring finance, a need that could and might endanger the public safety of people in Macon
You're talking about Mountain Valley.
Talking about Mountain Valley, and I just think it's important because I know the questions are going to come. Why them and nobody else? There's no. It all comes down to justification. It all comes down to the establishment of a recurring financial need. It's a 41-year-old truck, and it's dead, and that's pretty simple. That's as simple as it can be. Were there bad ideas in the other requests? No. in a better economic time, maybe. But right now, we have to understand that not only is money tight for us as we put our budget together, money's tight out there for the people that are paying bills. And we need to be sensitive to that. I think the fire departments, and I hope they understand that if there's a crisis, we're here. We're here. And I don't think this board, in the time I've been on it, has ever failed to respond to a crisis. But right now, looking at the justifications, I didn't see any crises, but I saw one pretty bad situation with a 41-year-old truck. And so we're trying to fix that. So that's where I was looking.
And for example, David, we talked about this one specific, is about, I know Otto had asked for, part of their budget was for radios, is that not right?
That's correct.
Jim, so I would certainly be encouraged, county manager, to meet with them and possibly come up with some financing option to that, since that's not a recurring expense, it's a one-time expense. And I think we can address some of these. Gentlemen, any other questions about the budget? The few additions made there, and that would include the fire tax. Or I would entertain a motion to approve the 2012-2013 budget as presented.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Beal, second by Commissioner Cuppers, to approve the budget as presented by the county manager. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Now, I think we need to talk about the leave time separately.
Yeah, 24 hours.
24-hour leave time in lieu of any kind of raise. And like I said, Jack did meet with Commissioner Peppers and myself before the meeting, and we talked about that yesterday. And we discussed that back and forth, and so we opened up the discussion now if you guys want to add anything to what's been said or weigh in on what you think.
Jack, is that presentation made our July meeting?
It'll be July the 10th, that's the regular July meeting. And I'm sure everybody is to see what the final results are. We're still working on some numbers. It's a little bit more complicated than you might assume. If we can go through and take a look at salaries, take a look at what the recommendations are. Then we got to look at what the revenue sources are. For example, the Department of Social Services reimbursed by state and federal sources about 66% of the cost of DSS, and so it doesn't cost us 100% of those salaries. It only costs us about 33%. So we got to get the right numbers together to make sure you all have the right numbers to work with.
There's just a few departments that will require part-time personnel.
A few departments are going to have part-time personnel. If anybody has any time off in there, you can't let the jailer go home without somebody guarding the jail. So you got to have somebody there.
EMS.
You can't park the ambulance and not respond to calls, so you got to have somebody for that. Same way with the deputy sheriff and so forth. So law enforcement, emergency services are the two areas that we have to have somebody on duty 24/7. So the person who's there regularly, just like they are right now when they're on vacation, we have to call in part-time help or get some people to work overtime to do that. And if you give anybody any extra time off with pay, then you've got to make sure that you can cover the salaries of those individuals who have full-time jobs somewhere else to come in and do that. And we figured if we had to do that without additional money, then it still wouldn't cost more than about $16,000, but we were able to find a couple of areas in the budget that we can redirect funds and not ask for any increase in the budget, that we can cover that money, cover those costs. If all of them are used, there's a good chance, since people already have vacation or annual leave time, they may not even use all the time they have this year. So I don't think it would be much of an impact at all on the budget. Actually, we don't see any impact at all at this point in time. But it would give us a chance to express appreciation for what you're working on.
Mr. Chairman, I think the county manager said it best, when he made the presentation, that, our county employees are, with 30-some-odd people less than it was just a few years ago. Our population today in Franklin and Macon County is double. What the census says today is double. David Key can certainly tell you that. And so
You're
it's
talking
still
about summertime
population. We're double the population today. And so they still provide the services. I think even though this board needs to be very, very mindful that in the real world, when that check ain't land on the desk, whether you performed or not, in the real world, things have not improved a whole lot. And I live in that real world. The check ain't there on Fridays. As I know, as you know very well, and Jimmy Heck knows very well, Ron Hayden knows very well, probably a couple of folks. But I think that we would not give these employees a cost of living, I don't think, since 2009.
2008, there was a cost of living, and then last year we had a 3% adjustment, and that's all it had since.
So with 24 hours leave time and not adding to the budget, Mr. Chairman, I think it would, it shows our employees that we do think of them, and we appreciate what they do, and we do appreciate what they do. But I think we need to be ever mindful that that out there where it's in the real world, it still ain't exactly a paradise. But I wouldn't have a little problem with it.
And would just share a couple of things that I talked to county manager about, and Commissioner Pepper did, was we want the numbers on the county employees, and Greg give that 392 to 255. If you do the math, that's about a 10% reduction in workforce in the county over the past 5 years. The other thing we talked about with that additional 24 hours, add anything to the budget. I think we heard the answer to that is no. And so I felt like it was a reasonable, it's a reasonable addition to her. And that is a one-time.
It's just
The employees of this county are definitely its most important asset. I like the idea, and I also like the idea that we're looking into ensuring that they are fairly compensated for the services that they provide.
The one thing I'll say, and I said it before, I said it yesterday in the county manager's office, we can sit up here behind this desk, we can shake hands and say, hey, we balanced another one. Didn't have to raise taxes again, or we did good. We didn't do anything, gentlemen. All we did was hold our hands up and pass a budget. The fact that the budget is balanced it is balanced on the backs of our county employees. And for that reason, I would be in support of this measure, because we can say we balanced it, we didn't do anything. They did.
Is that a motion?
It is.
I'll second it.
I'd like to just put one discussion on.
Go ahead, Ron.
Last year, when it come time to vote to give a 3% raise, I didn't hesitate to raise my hand. And we do have some fine employees that I'm proud of. Let's take this into consideration. Give them 24 hours, and I think maybe probably the least paid employees we got to be paid $10 an hour. That's $240. And they've got options of taking that off or not. But I see this as a dead expense to the county. And I'm sorry. I'd rather look at it and say give the employees $240. Because I see us having to employ somebody to fill in that day that they were gone. It's going to cost us in the long run. And maybe I'm looking at it all wrong, and let's look down on it, but I think the world of it is the very same. If you don't agree with me, that's all. But I'm not seeing this as benefiting these employees more than taking 3 days off. Financially, I can't see it helping the world. And that's my thought.
Noted, appreciate it.
Well, as I say, I am proud. I go into these departments and I see the people working, and I know the job that they are. The one part of my business that I hate worse than anything else is sitting there at the desk putting figures in and making things work. And most of the employees that's out here has to do that. And it's aggravating. It's hard. You work over and over and over. But I financially see that it would benefit more to give them the raise than it would to give them these days off. And that's how I look at it.
Can't disagree with that. It's just
I don't disagree with that either. Most people would much prefer money instead of time off, but outside, if you don't have money, then the next, and it's shown it's been popular because of our wellness program. Our wellness program works very well. Employees do things to keep our insurance down by doing things and they earn points. And they earn those points, those points translate into additional time off, and so that's a real popular thing. So, number one, if employees are given the choice, they're gonna want more money. I mean, I'm one of them, and I'd be the same way.
Right.
Without more money, the next thing most employees want is some other time off without having to lose money. And so that's just the basis behind it right there. But I don't disagree with anything Mr. Hagan said. We just have a little bit different perspective, and I didn't want to do anything that would cause an additional impact on the budget that we couldn't handle in the current budget, and I think we figured out a way to do that.
Jack, you do a great job.
Call the question,
You know, I'm
Mr.
proud of you.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-1. The 9B is consideration to authorize lease agreement with the Gem and Mineral Society of Franklin. I think, Mr. Jones, you have that.
Just very briefly, the proposed lease agreement with the Gem and Mineral Society of Franklin, North Carolina, Inc. would be a 5-year lease. It has been duly advertised as required by statute. I have prepared a resolution for the board's consideration to approve the proposed lease agreement. The proposed lease agreement is essentially the same lease agreement that the county has had with the Gem and Mineral Society heretofore. The essential consideration to the county for the use of this small building, the old jail downtown, is that the Gem and Mineral Society open up the museum there, if you will, to the public, and the public is allowed to come in and enjoy and learn there at no expense. What the county's doing.
Mr. Chairman, as liaison to the Gem and Mineral folks, they, first off, if you've not been down and visited the museum in a long time, you should go and just look see the names on the jailhouse wall. But they have put a lot of money into the building. We hear very little from them. They're very good. If they're a tenant, they're a very good tenant, Mr. Council. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the resolution that's presented by the county attorney authorizing the lease agreement with the Gem and Mineral Society.
Do we have a second to that motion? Second. Have a motion by Commissioner Beal, second by Commissioner Haven. Any discussion? And just as far as full disclosure, this is, it'll be public record in the resolution, but they put $25,000 for expenditures in the building, air conditioning, heating units, recarpeting, painting, et cetera, et cetera. Another $5,000 in 2007, I think, were made. And the county's annual rent would be $10 to them. Is that correct? So,
As well as the consideration of keeping the museum open to the general public.
and it's a great addition to downtown. It's a,
And it's a draw for
Pretty
tourism
good.
development. A lot of
Yes,
folks
it
come
is.
for that.
Sure is. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Chester, for working on that. I appreciate that. We have another one for Chester, consideration authorization, authorized lease agreement with Franklin Archers. Just a reminder, that's the property we talked about. It's adjacent to South Macon Elementary School. They requested use, and Chester's done a lot of work on that, and I think has something for us.
Well, first, I wanted to let you know this is a proposed lease agreement that would be for essentially about a 1-year period. It has a provision that would allow the county to terminate the same on 30 days notice. Essentially what we have is an organization by the name of the Franklin Archers, Inc., which is a group that provides educational, instructional, and training opportunities, as well as shooting opportunities for archers and would-be archers. The beauty of this organization is that they have indicated that they are open to the public, subject to some reasonable rules and regulations that they would have that would be designed to deal with safety issues. The county, through Jack Horton and, to my knowledge, Commissioner Beal, have had conversations with the Franklin Archers Group and has settled on a parcel of land adjacent to the South Macon School that's not being utilized by the county. The county would need to declare that property surplus and authorize this lease agreement, which is attached to the resolution. I have circulated a draft to each of you. Gentlemen, you may not have gotten a small revision that I sent you about lunchtime today in some additional discussions with some individuals that would be affected by this lease. We added a small provision under paragraph 3S, and it simply provides that no motor vehicle should be parked or driven upon the leased premises by the tenants, its members, guests, or invitees. The idea is to not cause any issues with the hay operations that are also being conducted on the parcel. So with that being said, if there's any questions about the proposed lease, the lease does require the tenant, Franklin Archers Inc., to name the county as an additional insured, carry insurance, liability insurance in the aggregate of $3 million, and per occurrence $1 million.
Mr. Chairman, I have been involved with the Archers, and we wanted, and we went down and met with all the parties involved, and there is a gentleman who takes the hay off that area, and we didn't want to interfere with, because he's kept that field for years, and makes it look decent, and we know that we're not going to end up with that property in the foreseeable future. And this gives an opportunity. Archery has really grown, and this is a very organized and responsible group, and I think they'll be very good tenants of the property. They won't be disturbing nothing, and I think it would be a good gesture on our part to let them have the lease. That is a motion.
We have a second. Okay. Second by Commissioner Tate. Any discussion concerning the lease with the Franklin Archers? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Chester, thank you. We have I think we've talked about this quite a bit, the brief we put on there. We did, since our last meeting, we have gone to Raleigh and met with our legislators concerning the video sweepstakes machines, and we did that in response to some concerns voiced to us, I guess that's fair, by local residents about that, and the legislature is in the process of taking action. I don't know if there's anything else for us to do at this point, but Chester, I would recognize you for an update about where that is.
There has been a bill introduced into the General Assembly. It's House Bill 1180. I think the approach that the legislature is exploring, at least at this point in time, is taking a little different direction. Instead of outlawing or attempting to outlaw sweepstakes, to regulate and to tax. House Bill 1180, if it is passed, would authorize the state of North Carolina to charge privilege license fees in the amount of $2,000 per establishment, as well as I believe what they call an excise tax in the amount, if I'm not bad mistaken, of $1,000 per machine. And in addition, charge 4% of the gross receipts on the video sweepstakes machine in the box.
And that, just clarify, that's the state.
That's the state of North Carolina. In addition to that, it would require a bond or letter of credit from the business. It would give some authorization of the Secretary of the Department of Revenue to cancel licenses under certain circumstances, and it specifies that the proceeds that the state would collect, up to 6%, could be distributed to local law enforcement, and it goes on and says that the remainder would be, where it says must be credited to the general fund and appropriated by the General Assembly in the current Operations Appropriations Act for the fiscal year that begins the following July 1 for public education. So they're basically saying that we go for law enforcement and public education. In addition to that, the legislature would be authorizing counties and cities to, by ordinance or resolution, impose similar privilege taxes and excise taxes, but not in the same amounts that the state are authorized to do so. The county, for example, would be able to impose privilege licenses in the amount of $1,000 per establishment and excise taxes of $500 per machine. And you can see that's a little bit, that's about half, I think, of what the state is authorized to do. Right now, I think you've got some municipalities that are charging more than those rates, and I suspect those municipalities are not going to be real happy with that limitation. That may have grown accustomed to getting the other revenue. So there may be discussion to be had. I prepared a resolution in connection with this matter if y'all were inclined to support House Bill 1180. I don't know that you know enough about it or have had an opportunity to think enough about it to know whether you want to support it or not. It may be that you just simply want to study it.
Just to talk straight with you, I don't think our board's involvement in that was to encourage that type of regulation or discourage it. I think what we were doing was we received comments and concerns from members of the public, and I think we made a commitment to voice that to our legislators, which I think we did. And what they do there, I think they need to do. I personally would not feel comfortable endorsing this particular bill because my interest in this was not to raise money for the county. That's not our interest at all.
Well, in joining what you said, I did have occasion to speak with Ryan Welch and to try to get some input from the sheriff on where he stood on this matter. And my understanding is that the North Carolina Sheriff's Association is frankly not in favor of this deal.
Well, that's another reason that the Sheriff's Association, I respect their opinion in regulating these type of businesses, and they're not supporting it. So I think at this point, I'm not sure we need to weigh in on it.
Put simply, you got too many irons in the fire, right? You still got a case pending in front of the Supreme Court.
You're exactly right.
You got competing bills in the legislature. I don't think, my personal opinion is, not that I don't think it's bad to tax them or not tax them. Right now is not the time to jump in because there's just too many people splashing around in the water to try to figure out where this thing, I mean, the Supreme Court could blow this whole thing out.
If
So,
you've got some
you know, we
ideas,
should be patient.
you can voice those ideas, but
So what's unique here, as far as I know, this is the only gambling that I know of that's not regulated. It's either regulated, if it's not regulated, it's illegal. This is the only, when you go to Cherokee, you hit a post on there what the odds are on that machine. It's regulated.
These are not.
I don't know that. What was the last time you were down there playing?
I admit it.
But if we could put money, what people don't understand, if we could put money in them, we could regulate them. If you walked up to that machine and you could put $1 in it, the county could regulate that machine. That ain't what you do. You go buy time on the machine. You go buy credits. The machine, the money does not go into the machine. If it went directly in the machine, we would have the ability to do that. So that's what they found out. They've always been a loophole. David's known about this for a long time. There's always been a loophole. Whatever they looked at, Brian, there was a loophole to drive through. It was the McDonald's monopoly game, the money going into the machines. So
The state
I
lottery.
agree. The lottery, and he's got a long ways to go, but I think they'll. If you look what the state of Alabama, go see how many there are in the state of Alabama. You know how many there are in the state of Alabama? Nada. If you look and see what they've done, that's very interesting. About 10 grand machines. They just.
Well, I can just see North Carolina giving this money to the school law enforcement too, can you? It looks like a motion. We make a motion, we do support this.
You want to make motion to support House Bill,
No, not that support.
of not support. Then
I don't
do we
I'm not, my colleague up here, not top 10 what to do, but I think this time we just need to do man neutral and just see where it goes. We may end up, well, that may be the best thing on the table one of these days.
I think there are people that believe that that's the way to address this. I think there are other people still holding on to the hope of the possibility of being able to prohibit this in some shape, fashion, or form. And I think those people of that latter camp, they're a little bit concerned about this bill because it would provide some legitimation to an activity that they would frankly rather out.
Basically, what I'm looking at is, I don't
I agree. I think it's just,
think we just.
until the courts rule and the legislature acts, you know, or the court rules, then maybe we want to get in on when the legislature acts. But to me, when you've got a court case pending, you can pass whatever you want. We're not
You don't want to be part of it.
That's exactly right.
We fulfill our obligation to the public by voicing those concerns.
And it's on the radar.
And if we need to
Definitely on the
weigh in
radar.
again, we certainly will. Thank you, Chancellor, for your information. Under the new business, Mr. Manager, I think you have a renewal contract with New South Strategies for consulting.
Yeah, I believe that's under
10A.
10A. New South Strategies, if you don't know, I think you all do, that's Tommy Jenkins and company. Tommy does our economic development program. He's done a terrific job this past year, by the way. I'll brag on him. He's not here, but he does it on a contract basis instead of being a county employee. So it actually didn't cost any more than what it did if we had a county employee going. Tommy has so many contacts. And you saw that evidence this year with our Biz Week program, where we had a lot going on, recognizing our local businesses and honoring them at our annual business appreciation dinner with the Secretary of Commerce coming out and doing our keynote address. And he doesn't just do that for everybody. That plus I think our Economic Development Commission has been really energized and re-energized with Tommy. And we had talked when he came on board about taking a look at his contract this year. If things were big enough, maybe we could see if there's an increase, but things hadn't picked up that much. So Mr. Jenkins is very happy if the board would like to continue his contract on the same dollar amount that we're doing this year with no increase for another 12 months. And I would certainly recommend the board give that favorable consideration.
I think, Mr. Mayor, just to be consistent, that is the amount in the budget.
It's
This
exactly
year,
the amount in the
it's the
budget.
same amount, it's a flat budget. So that money is in the budget for this position. If you'd be in favor, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I think Tommy's done an outstanding job on that. There's a young gentleman at the Scaly Mountain area that approached me a few weeks ago. Was talking to me about how big of a benefit that we've been to him helping him get set up, talking about the incubator building, coming up with all the resources to get his IT business up and running. I think it's just an outstanding benefit, so I want to go with that.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tate, second by Commissioner Peppers.
In the process of that, I think, Jack, you left out the tail of the tape. You intimated we had a virtually empty incubator building, and now we're trying to throw people out of the incubator building to make room for people we need to get in. To me, that's the tail of the tape.
We don't really want to throw them out.
You know what I'm saying.
We want to provide
We want to create a
additional
space.
Provide a new
We want to
location.
create a different
We
space.
do have, he does have a couple of.
But he has really, I mean, he has really ignited that place to do what it was intended to do when the county opened it up. So, I mean, that to me is the tail of the tape. It's coming. And he's a solid. He's keeping us on the top line.
Unfortunate fit we get.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. 10B is consideration of awarding the bid for mobile generator light towers for emergency services. David Key, I think you got that out for us, sir, please.
I think the only thing you have in your package is actually the bid tabulation.
We do.
So that's good.
Might want to give a little background history on what we're trying to do with this. Not directly, it impacts and helps Macon, but it also
Also,
helps the community area too.
it is as a short story is, it's a Homeland Security grant passed down from federal government to state for $137,500, I think it's, or $250. We actually are a member of a regional group, Macon County is a member of 11 counties called a DIPR region, it's Department of Preparedness region. Most of your grants federally now, they expect you to do a regional grant, which will take several counties at a time. So the counties came together and made this regional group. We're group number 9. It covers the counties as far west as Cherokee, back to Bundle, so forth. They came together with this money, came up with an idea of how to spend it. This is back in 2009 is when this grant came out. At the time when they finally agreed of what they wanted to buy, which actually matches another project that our adjoining region did, we agreed that we should buy the same resources, and if we needed to ever share resources, we could do so. Back and forth, everybody would have the same equipment. So, that being said, Macon County stepped up and said we'd like to host this. They agreed that by doing that, that means that we would do the bid process, we would put the money out first, but it is 100% reimbursement grant, there's no cost to us. We did that bid process this year. We've actually done it twice. We bid it out according to federal guidelines, and which we had to research extensively to make that work correctly. We did those. We received 5 bids. Out of the 5 that we received, there was only one that was 100% compliant, and it was well and above the value of the grant. So what we did was there was a common error in the other bids. There were 2 items that they left out of their bid that the only compliant bid passed. So what we did is we went around to the region, made sure that it was okay with the other 8 counties that were going to receive one of these light towers, that those 2 options be taken out of the bid, because it was obvious to us that those options actually weren't even in that model that we could forward. They didn't come on those models. So they were in agreement with that as well, so we rebid it with those 2 options taken off the bid sheet. At that point, we received 3 bids. And of those 3 bids, 2 of those were 100% compliant. And you have those 3 bids that are on your bid sheet. And I respectfully request you award to the lowest bidder. The other 8 counties, it's 100% compliant.
That's Southeast Industrial Equipment?
Yes.
$130,075.
Yes. There will be another small amount in less than $100 that it has to come out of the grant money as well, but it's also reimbursable. Department of Homeland Security wants us to have stickers made that goes on the side of these units that says paid for by Department of Homeland Security.
I asked David earlier, I said, this must be a bunch of lights, and they must be really good.
Yeah.
So how many lights is this, David?
We're a total of 9. Macon County.
9 towers.
Towers, yes. If you're familiar with our 4th of July gathering, we set one of those. Macon County actually owns one already that we set for the crosswalk from the rec park over to Woodstock Mall. We like that area. Very similar to that same package. We'll get one more of those. The other counties around us will have one as well. Emergency lighting in the event we have disasters or other events.
That gives us 2 total, David.
That'll give us a total of, well, it'll give Macon County Emergency Management a total of 2. I believe the Sheriff's Department already owns 1. So that the county will have 3.
These powered, what are they powered by?
They have their own generator.
Yeah, they're a diesel generator. They have the capability of 20 kW generators, 20,000 watt generators, along with the light tower itself. So not only does it apply light to the scene,
So you
but
could power some
you
other
can power other equipment, you can power small buildings.
Jimmy, is there liaison, have you looked at this?
I have, I've met with David about it, I'm ready to make a motion to approve the board of the Southeast Industrial.
Yes. We have a motion by Commissioner Tate, second by Commissioner Beal. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jimmy, for your work on that too. I had C, Lori, was that, we're going to do the resolution for the budget this year, is that right?
Under consent, there's budget amendments 204, 205, and 206, and then the
Well, I'm talking about.
the ordinance amending the budget was under consent.
Okay, so that's, it's
E.
right, so nothing, I had
Pending the
something.
current year's budget.
What did I have? I had something in C. Wasn't that the resolution for the ordinance amending the fiscal year 2011?
No, I had put under 11E.
Okay, all right, my mistake. Okay, we'll, that's all the new business. We'll move to item 11, which is the consent agenda. And gentlemen, you have that contains the minutes from May 8th, May 15th, May 21st, May 23rd, May 31st, and June 5th meetings. So, I said we meet.
We only meet once a month.
Yeah. They told me when I took this job, it would take an hour a month.
Yeah. They lied to you.
Somebody lied. Yes, they did. Big time. So, also includes budget amendments that Lori has given us. The tax releases, there are none. The monthly ad valorem tax collection report, I think you have that. And the, yeah, I said, ordinance amendment. And that was the one, gentlemen, if you've got that one, that just sort of cleans up the 2011-2012 budget year if you would. And I would suggest that we include that in the consent agenda. Any item you want to remove from the consent agenda, you will. If not, a motion to approve those 5 items will be in order. Motion by Commissioner Hayden, second by Commissioner Tate. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Can we drop back to me just for 1 second?
Yes, sir.
I got a question for the county attorney, and I've talked to Chester about this. Where I think we need to get in the minutes now, because it's going to have a bearing on some grants. Where do we stand on, we talked about the voluntary ag district, the farmland preservation, and changing those acreages in there, Chester?
Mr. Bill, I have not had the opportunity to work
Well,
on.
Chester, you're going to have to work more hours. You won't be till 24 hours.
Each contract.
Well, can we just put that, Mike, in the minutes that that we have authorized the county attorney to begin work on that, because Mike's applying for a grant, and that's part of the deal, I think. That the county attorney is working feverishly on that.
Feverishly, subject to our conversation of the other day, that I needed to sit down with somebody that had the specific request.
Well, you got it. We
No, I don't have it.
Well, we've got it. We've got the specific request. They brought it to us. Mike brought it to us.
It was changed from the old,
It was the old
farmland preservation committee
to the voluntary ag district, and it was a change in, it was on a template, on a state template.
Yeah, what they had in the past, and I don't know how accurate it was, but it was the farmland preservation committee, or whatever you call it. And we wanted to change it to the agriculture, I can't remember the specific name of it.
Voluntary ag
Basically,
district.
what you actually end up doing, if I recall, is go back and resurrect the old one that you had, because a lot of the members were not even on it anymore. Just bring it under the new name and make sure you had enough people to cover that as
And
members.
it's a change in the acreage.
And change the acres on what was required.
Yeah, that was the whole reason for it.
But those are a couple of things that I, and I can't recall what the acreage amount was.
It's somewhere, it was in the minutes. I'll read it. And you get to Chester. I think we just reflect that in the minutes that we are, we use another word besides feverishly, we are diligently pursuing.
I will get up with the county manager tomorrow, and we'll see if we can't get an audience.
That would be great. And I think you can put in there by consent of the board that that's being accepted.
Once he's not taking
That way it turns
$200
him
off,
loose
you
to
should
go
be able
ahead. It's a $7,200 grant, and he'll have to explain that to you. Okay, thank you.
Gentlemen, we have a few appointments to address under item 12. The Airport Authority, excuse me, term of Gary Schmidt has expired. No other applications been received. I talked to the county manager about this today, and still had no other applications been received.
We have completed the paperwork as far as I know, so.
Yes.
The Airport Authority has met, voted, they like.
They recommend you all.
They recommend Gary.
So with that said, I'd entertain a motion that we appoint Gary Schmidt in his appointment to the Airport Authority.
6-year term.
So moved.
Yep. Commissioner Haven, motion,
Second, whatever.
and Cooper second.
Go on that, Mr. Smith's probably that's following that. Crashes.
The luckiest.
Still live.
He's gotta be the luckiest too.
You're not
We'll
helping.
put him on.
You think you're helping me, but you're not helping.
He's flying you to the meeting in Raleigh.
Yes.
Enjoy that trip.
All in favor of appointing Mr. Schmidt to that board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Just a note on the Board of Adjustment, making the county manager been notified by Gary Drake that he cannot accept the appointment to Board of Adjustment made by us last month, so we'll need to,
Need another person.
we'll need to seek another person if we advertise that.
Yeah, we will re-advertise it, and if you know anybody in the Highlands area, it'd be good to pass the word.
Okay. Commissioner Tate. We do have one appointment to the Health Board.
Gentlemen, if you remember last time, we in order to get the paperwork filled out, Ms. Phillips has taken the position to fill out Mr. Higdon's term, and now we'd like to reappoint her for a full 3-year term. She has submitted the paperwork, and the Health Board has voted that they would like to. And she's already been to one meeting, seems to be working out very well, so I'll
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion second by Phelan Cuppers, and you will note under item 12, her application is in there, filled out properly. Any discussion about Ms. Phillips taking the position on Health Board? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. We have one more for Planning Board, and Jim, remind me who came off?
Al Marsh.
Al Marsh.
Alan Moore.
And we appreciate his time and his, sometime he's been on that board. Alan, do you
He's
know?
been on that board for a long time.
He's been on it for 12, I said I was on it for 12, he's on it for 12 years.
So there's a recommendation from the town of Highlands, which according to that, we need to have a representative from the town of Highlands. And they've recommended Mr. John Underwood. And those of you who do not know Mr. Underwood, he's a building contractor, Ronnie, I believe. Works mostly in the Highlands Cashers area, and he's been recommended to serve a 3-year term through 2015. Ron, motion? We have a motion to approve Mr. John Underwood. We have a second? Second by Commissioner Cuppers. Any discussion about Mr. Underwood? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion
As a side, Mr. Manager, do these folks that have been on for a long time, do we send them a letter from the county?
We do, similar appreciation.
I just want to speak up for Mr. Marsh, because I don't know that they could have ever ended a meeting without Alan. He was always the guy that moved to adjourn, but he's a guy that made that drive every meeting. I don't know a handful that he missed, and he's as loyal to that board as anybody's ever been, and I'd sure like to make sure he knows.
Well,
And gentlemen, the one I added, if you would, for the child fatality.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the name that's provided. I'm sure that this name can be released. But if you never served, if you haven't changed him to serve on this committee, it sounds depressing, but it's very interesting, and it's designed to save another child's life. That's what this is designed to do. And I did have the privilege of serving on this for several years, and you do see some very sad cases, but you see some things that maybe can be prevented in the future, and maybe save a child's life. So some of them you can't, some are accidental, some are medical, but, so I make the motion that we approve the name as provided to the child fatality team.
We have a motion by Bill, second by Mr. Hagan. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
No, that would be, what was that?
Oh, yeah. Gentlemen, that's all I had for a public session. Commissioner Cuppers has requested that we meet with him briefly about a matter of possible property acquisition.
I'd like to make that motion, Mr. Chairman. We go into closed session for first discuss property acquisition.
The 5 West Main Street.
Mr. Chester,
We need to identify the parcel of land, the owner, and prospective purpose for which it would be used.
If you want it.
What the Court of Appeals tells us.
We don't want a closed session.
We do not want a closed session.
We'll negate the closed session. We
Yes, sir.
double check that, because that would be totally different than what
Perfect.
we were told in Rockland.
Court of Appeals has ruled.
When did they rule that?
Well, I don't have to date with me, but I can sure find it for you.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of issues that I'd like the county attorney to comment on.
That would defeat the purpose of a closed meeting.
It needs to be attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
I withdraw
Mr.
my
Cuppers,
motion.
withdraw your motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
All right. Mr. Cuppers, if you'd like to make a motion, we'll go in for attorney-client privilege.
Love to do that.
We'll do that for a second. Second by Commissioner Hagan. And I don't anticipate any action will come out, Jack? No action, so we've taken enough action. I think we'll come back out and adjourn. And as far as I know, we will not recess, we'll be adjourned. Is that right?
That's
Wow.
right, meeting of the board, unless you call a special meeting, it'll be on Tuesday, July.
We've recessed for 6 weeks in a row. All right, we'll go into executive, all in favor of executive session, signify by saying aye. It's unanimous.
David, thank you, sir.
Just a few minutes. Thank you.
We got able to get the Highlands.
Annie, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, whichever one for Highlands. I know there was a problem with it. There was a glitch.
How are you?
Hello,
Dan.
So they don't have.
I got your message.